I'm about to show you how to make $300,000 per year as a group practice owner. Everything comes down to a few simple levers that you can pull today to get more clients, get better clinicians, and remove yourself as the bottleneck of your business. Because once you know how to position yourself properly and employ the right strategies at the right time, you'll be able to grow your business with less stress, so you can actually enjoy your free time and even take a vacation. And I know that might be a wild concept. Now, one of my goals in 2025 is to help 30 group practice owners hit 30,000 a month in profit. And this is exactly how I'm going to do that. So last week I had a community call with our group practice owners, and I was talking about the model, right? Right here, how do we actually make more money in our group practice, right? How do we serve more people? How do we grow a business that we love? Right? What are the constituent parts? This is going to break down everything in this video at a high level, but I'm going to start with the model, okay? Because the reality is, if we're aiming for a goal in our business, we have to work with the numbers that we have to create that goal. Right? So if we make $100 a session versus $200 per session, if we have 10 clinicians versus 5 clinicians, the model of your business is going to determine how hard it is to achieve this goal, or how easy it is, or just how possible it is in total, right? So the model is what I'll start with today, because nothing else matters if we don't have the model on top of it. A couple of notes for the model. Number one is the two business model. This is a term I've used to describe what it looks like as a group practice owner, especially if you are working in the group practice yourself. You're going to have your caseload, and then you're going to have your business. What I mean by that is you're going to have the revenue generated by your clinicians, the group practice, what I would kind of call it, and you're going to have the money that you generate on your own from your caseload, right? I really want to separate these two. I don't want your caseload to be mixed in with the revenue of the rest of the business in terms of profit, because it makes things feel a little bit skewed, right? A lot of clinicians I've worked with before generate $15,000 a month on their own caseload, and the business is profiting $13,000 a month. And what that really means is they're basically running a nonprofit for their clinicians, and they're subsidizing the entire business. Okay. So we have to look at the model, and the one that I like the best is simple. I want this to be 10,000 a month or so. Usually, right? If you can be a higher priced $200 to $350 an hour clinician and see 10 to 15 sessions a week, that's usually great. What that means is that we need a business that is able to profit $20,000 per month. Okay. $300,000 a year in income is actually about $25,000. I'm going to overestimate it for the sake of this video. This model means that if we want to be generating $20,000 a month in profit, the thing that I found is the easiest to do that is to have high margin. All right. So what does high margin mean? It means that we are generating greater than $50 per session. I have seen huge variations in different areas of the country around the amount that you make per session. But this dollar amount per session is what constitutes the entire model of your business. Okay. The really, really hard thing about a service business like a therapy practice is your clinicians, if they're really good, might want to leave, right? Your clinicians, if they're not very good, are not going to retain those clients. And you have to make every single payment for rent, for advertising, for admin support, for sometimes training your clinicians, right? You have to support all of the expenses of the business and hope that there's some money left over. I like to use a rule of thumb as greater than $50 per session is really what I would want or require. Ideally, if we can get that higher, it's better, right? But the only way we can do that usually is we have to actually have a higher price service. Okay. So some of my clinicians charge $200 an hour for their clinicians or higher. What that means is, as an example, if you're charging $200, you can give your therapist $100 an hour, which is really, really great pay, right? They can make 6 figures a year doing 20 sessions a week, working from home. It's a really, really great gig, and you can attract quality people that way. But what that means, you have $100 a session. And what this means is you actually have a chance at making profit. Okay. Not to say you can't do this at $50 a session. Like the model works completely if that's the case, but the more the merrier in terms of having more money left over, right? If you have any idea for building a leadership team, moving yourself from the business, the only way you can do that is profit, right? If you want to pay yourself more, you have to have profit. Profit comes from your margin. I like to say full-time clinicians is the rule of thumb. If we can get there, we can make anywhere from $4,000 to $8,000 a month in gross profit from our clinicians. $100 per session over the course of 20 sessions a week, 25 sessions a week makes $4,000 to $8,000 per month per clinician. So as we're looking at this, if we want $20,000 a month in profit right here, we're not thinking about our own caseload. That's getting 10 sessions a week, 15 sessions a week at a high price point. We're thinking about the business, and the business needs to generate $20,000 net. That means after all of our expenses. In order to pay for our expenses and have money left over, that's this. This is our gross profit. Okay, gross profit is top line. Net profit is bottom line, or expenses are in between. But the model is the more we can get per session, the better. And my idea that I like is boutique, high quality service, if possible. Other ways we can get there. We can get there with insurance. I've worked with people in Lincoln, Nebraska, and I think Medicaid pays out $157 there, which is really, really crazy. We need to be able to usually generate $150 to $200, $250, $300 an hour to make this work. The more we can generate top line in terms of revenue, the more that we can pay our clinicians and have money left over to pay for all the business expenses so that we have some money left over. In terms of the model as well, I like to do low cost of rent. If you have a $10,000 a month bill on rent, it might be harder to profit this amount yourself. Okay, so we're really trying to keep expenses to a minimum so that we can put money into people, just to take away your activities in the business. As the business grows, you can actually buy back your time. We like to have high margin within the business, right? And we like to think about differently your caseload versus the business. When you're building out your business plan, if your caseload is not something you want to be running, you need to make sure that the business can profit on its own. So that's the model. The next thing we're going to look at is advertising. So I'm going to push this all the way over here. It's really important that once we have our numbers worked out as the foundation of our business, that's what we're always going to start with. Then we're going to be looking at advertising. So I was talking with all of my clinicians on our group call last Friday, and I was telling them about paid advertising. Okay, I've spent, I think, over $1 million myself on our own business on advertising at this point. I've spent the same amount for our clients and helped people to scale really, really big in their practice through it. The reason I emphasize advertising as a fundamental part of actually generating $300,000 a year is that you need predictable clients. I have talked with a lot of my group practice owners, and they say, being a group practice owner, I feel like I'm always pounding the pavement, always looking for the next client to come in the door. And that's the reality. Is if you want to fill up not one caseload, but 5 caseloads or 10 caseloads, you have to understand there's going to be people who graduate out of therapy, right? There's going to be some clinicians who don't retain people quite as long. There's going to be just a natural flow, inflow and outflow. So in order to grow your business, you're going to need to have people coming every single day, right? Every single week, you need 10 new people coming in. You need new intake sessions that you're focused on week in, week out, month after month. And that sometimes can be a little bit scary. It's a lot of weight it's a little bit of, you always have to bring people in, but it can be figured out. Okay. My favorite way to do it is by building a system that gets you new clients while you sleep. And that's usually going to be advertising. Okay. Again, the thing I always talk about when I'm describing advertising is we don't start with advertising with, the ads we're going to place and what the landing page is going to look like. We're starting with, again, the model, which I started with in this video, right? We have to make sure that we're actually going to make money off of our clients that we bring in. If we're going to spend a bunch of money to get new people in the door, we have to make sure that we make that money back and extra to pay the expenses and extra to pay ourselves. So we need to have higher price services if we're going to advertise, and advertising is a fundamental piece of predictability within the business. So that means that we're going to make sure that our model is correct with advertising. So we're going to have, again, high price services, and this is not going to be the only thing that we run. We're going to also have organic marketing. We're going to have our directories. We're going to have a lot of, relationships built within the community, but having advertising that we can leverage is huge to being able to predictably grow our inflow of new clinicians with the inflow of new clients. Okay. So the cool thing about ads is you can grow quickly. In order to maintain for 10 years, that's about the work that you do. That's about the brand you build in the community. But in order to get clients tomorrow, advertising is great. We routinely set up 10 to 20 ad campaigns per month for therapists. And we had one last month we set up and she got 5 new clients in the first month, right? It's very hard to do that with anything else, but there's already people that are searching on Google, for example, that we can plug you into. That's going to be really great. Okay. So with advertising, what we want to do is model out our business growth, and we want advertising to be the tool that we can predictably grow alongside. Okay, so I'm going to show you as an example. If you're currently here and let's say your practice is making $5K a month gross profit. So this might mean if you're a 50-50 split with your clinicians in total are generating $10,000 a month, right? Maybe you're generating yourself $10,000 a month. So the whole practice is making 20, but you're only making $5,000 a month in gross profit from your clinicians. And then you've got maybe rent to pay and you've got admin and all the rest. So you might not be profiting anything. What we want to do is we want to start to grow this per month. We want to say, okay, this is 2 months out. I want to grow. This is 2 months out. I want to grow. And within that, we know that in order to hit $5,000 a month, let's say I need 8 inquiries a month. In order to hit $10,000 a month, let's say I need 16 inquiries a month, $20,000 a month in gross profit. That's not necessarily net profit. I'm going to need, let's say 24 inquiries. Your numbers are going to start to be pretty predictable. Work with someone, like me or some digital marketer if you're not very good at this, because it's really helpful to have someone who's data-driven to help show you kind of the build out of your business. But you're going to notice that from 8 inquiries, you generate, 4 new clients per month. So 4 new clients replaces that outflow, or it starts to just steadily build. You need to hire 1 more clinician to get to $10,000 a month in gross profit. In order to do that, you need to have 8 inquiries or 8 new clients landed a month out of 16 inquiries. So that's going to be this stage, right? And then you need to get that up to 24 inquiries a month to get to the $20,000 a month. Maybe this is, again, a 6-month process to add $15,000 a month in gross profit. Maybe in order to do that, we have to spend $3,000 a month on advertising. So we have this spread of 15K minus the 3K would be an extra $12,000 a month that drops to the bottom line. Okay, so an extra $150K a year that's added to your profit with just one system. Okay, as an example. Now, the advertising is not always the only way that we can grow the inquiries, of course, but we need a system like this that we can say, okay, in order to add more profit to the business, I need to get more clients. I need to hire this other clinician. So how do I do that? I go and hire the clinician. I'll talk about that in a second. And at the same time, I'm going to double my ad spend so that I get double the amount of inquiries. Okay. It's hard to do that on many other marketing channels. There's not an easy way to just double the results overnight like you can with advertising. So for me, it's the tool that I use the most often because it's really predictable and it can scale up to hundreds and hundreds of inquiries a month. Okay, so this is going to be what we're doing with advertising. We're trying to build out campaigns that are going to get us, that are going to cost us $1 to generate us $3 predictably, right? And that $3 might really be like $1,000 or $2,000, and that cost might be a couple $100. But if it costs us $200 to make $2,000, and we can do that a lot of times, that $1,800 spread, we have to do that hundreds of times to make $300,000. But this is going to be really, really fundamental. So that's advertising. Let's pop back in. The next piece of this that is very, very important as well is going to be the hiring. I really talk about, building a group practice as 2 things we need to do really, really well. Operations is a supporting function to it. We need to get more clients and we need to get more clinicians, right? If you do that and you have your model correct on the back end, but you have a clinician that generates you $5,000 a month in gross profit. That's the amount you pull out to your business, pay off the expenses and have money left over. And you get 10 of those people, that's $50,000 a month. Okay. Let's say your expenses are $15,000 a month. Then you have 35 left over. Maybe your expenses, maybe you actually hire someone to manage out those clinicians. That's $8,000 a month on top of it. Okay, you still have 25 a month, but you have to have the right model, and then you need to go hire 10 clinicians, and maybe 2 of them go on to start their own thing. So you really have to hire 12, and you might have to hire 12 over the course of a year and a half, right? Depending on how quickly you want to grow. It's a different thing to hire, a friend of a friend who's a therapist versus to have a system around hiring. Okay, so this is what we're going to talk about here. In order to make 300 grand a year in group practice, you need to have a system for hiring. Okay, we're going to say predictable hiring, just like we said, predictable client acquisition. Predictable. What does this mean? It's interesting. I've learned the same lesson for myself very often, but hiring is the same thing as acquiring new clients for your business. Okay. In order to do it, you have to do quality marketing, right? So your efficacy as a marketer is a huge determinant to the growth of your business, right? In terms of getting new clients, but also in terms of getting new clinicians. Predictable hiring. This should be part of the model that you create for your business, where you model out, okay, this clinician is full. I have nobody else that I can pass them to. So I'm going to hire the next clinician. We like to say if you're growing fast, if one clinician gets to about 80% full, might be a good time to start the hiring process, right? Your hiring process might take 4 weeks or 6 weeks, but between initial advertisement to doing the interview process to landing the role to getting the person trained. So you have to think ahead of the curve and start to bring somebody in. Predictable hiring might be things like, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, having a social media presence. This is a really good way that you can build a bigger network so that you can pull your network. There's poaching as well. There's many ways to get people, but you need to get people consistently. You need to get a good amount of people. Usually, in order to get the business to the point where you can make 300 grand a year, you need 4 to 5 full-time therapists. And in addition, you need to hire quality people. And I'm going to talk about this quickly. I could, make another 3 hours on what makes quality people for your organization. But this is really important. I'm writing down value alignment. The people that you hire is your company, is your organization, right? Is the quality service that's provided to the end client, is the brand that you build in your community, is the reputation you build for yourself. It is the most important thing I think ever in terms of who you choose in your life determines all of the outcomes of your life in terms of what I believe. And it's critically important that you choose correctly. Okay. One of the pieces of advice I give to most of my group practice owners when they're hiring is don't interview 2 people and choose the best one. Interview 10 people or 12 people or 15 people, right? And really look for the best quality that you can find. And that's across a number of factors. Obviously, how good they are clinically, how much they care, how passionate they are about your mission, how well they fit into your goals, right? What their goals are in alignment to yours. Are they somebody who is a good fit for your organization? And then value alignment. Do they actually see the world in the way that you do? Do you guys resonate on a lot of ways? If you're a really hard worker, are they super lazy, or are they a hard worker? Are they passionate about what they're doing? Getting really clear on value alignment and making sure that you hire people that you actually want to spend time with is critical to this, because those people will make you more money. Those people will make themselves more money. Those people will have a better experience working there and be more likely to retain. And so it's not worth, even if you need to hire someone in the next 6 weeks, it's not worth bringing on someone bad who you then fill up with clients and then leaves and you have a fallout. So becoming good at bringing people on, interviewing, selecting people, training people, mentoring people is critical to this. Okay. You cannot, in my opinion, run a group practice without real high quality here. Essentially, all you're doing in a group practice is you're leveraging other people's service, right? The clinician I met recently who did $8 million a year in revenue and exited her group practice to private equity had a huge training component as part of the business, a 1.5 year training component for clinicians. So they were getting better as a clinician as they went through the process and they were in the practice. Okay. This, write down training and mentorship. This is critically important that you have a growth path for your people. You have clear written down directions on who the right people are for your organization, for your group practice, and you're able to maintain them right? So this means you have to do the marketing to get them the clients, but you also need to provide community or benefits or training, insight, excitement. You need to be the provider of a lot of things outside of just money, right? And again, pay them well, because again, this is the hard part about not just making 300,000 a year once, but keeping it is consistently having great people who want to stay and don't want to go out on their own. Because it's possible they can go out on their own in private practice and make 100, 200K a year. We help a lot of people do that as well as a big part of our business. If you want to keep those people, give them reasons to stay. Give them more reasons to stay than want to leave. That's gonna be my big thing on hiring. Again, I would say generate 10 applications for every new person you want, and then plan for it, okay? I need to grow my inquiries first. Once I grow them, I get these clinicians full or 80% full, I'm gonna hire the next person. Then that's gonna take 4 weeks or 6 weeks. If you've never done it before, run the first process, generate your first 10 applications, post on social media, put it out everywhere that you can to start getting good quality people coming in. And if nobody's that good, don't hire them, right? Hire people that you feel excited to work with. That's going to be the thing I'll say on hiring today. Again, I could talk about hiring for many, many hours. I think it's one thing I've gotten better at over time. It's something that's not intuitive, but hiring and leadership are your biggest leverages as an entrepreneur. Operations. This is about how you run your business on the day to day. Important thing to say is that simple scales, fancy fails. And what that means is that when we're building a bigger organization, we really want to focus on simple systems that can grow with the business. Okay, we don't want to be redeveloping the systems of this business all the time. Operations also means how you lead your time, how you lead your day to most efficiently take the business to its goals. Okay, so it means not faltering in the day-to-day, but it also means consistent growth. Okay, so how do we actually do this? Number one thing is going to be being data driven in your business. We talk about this all the time. I give clinicians different Excel sheets or Google sheets to manage their business. And really what I've shifted to over time is something called a scorecard. Every big business that you ever see, any business that goes from a small business to a big business, is very driven on math. Okay, if our goal for our business is to make $300,000 per year in income, that means we want to generate $200,000 a year in income net profit from this business, then we need to create monetary goals. We need to create marketing goals to achieve that. Okay, marketing, retention, and expense goals to achieve that. This means that we build out scorecards. We build out, that's a B, budgets. Scorecards are goal versus actual. You can find a bunch of examples or templates to it. I might have some templates in other videos around scorecards, but they're really simple. You create a goal for, inquiries that you want per week, new clients that you want per week, and then you measure that against what actually happened. So if your goal was 16 inquiries a week and you hit 12, then you just notate that week after week. And if you hit 12 one week and you hit 20 the next week, it's going to average out to that 16. So that's totally fine, right? You're going to see these fluctuations week to week, no matter what. As long as you hit your monthly targets, your quarterly targets, you're fine. But what happens is if you actually create a goal and you don't hit your goal, then you get to learn from it. Okay, I thought that the action I was taking would take me to my goal and it didn't. Do I need to wait more time? Am I not doing it correctly? Or am I not doing it at all? Right? Again, it's helpful to have some outside expertise of people who've done it before to help with that feedback loop process. But that's the feedback loop process is I had this goal and I said this was the action to get there and it didn't happen. So which part are we missing that we can fix? If you're on a week-to-week feedback loop, that way your business can grow. And these are now things that you can delegate to other people. If you want to get off of inquiries and generating inquiries yourself, I wouldn't really recommend up to that $300,000 a year in profit mark. I would say that that's one of your biggest roles as an owner. So I wouldn't recommend delegating it completely. I mean, we do things to build out advertising campaigns for clinicians, which is really helpful. But you can have an agency that helps, but you need to still be the one who's in charge and making sure that stuff happens because you're going to get the best results. But regardless, after you're able to do that consistently, after you're able to define what your process is, you can start to hand this stuff off. And you can tell the people underneath you, hey, your goal is to hit 16. Okay, we're going to review each week how close you are to your goal. If you're not there, it's okay. You just need to know why. If we can build data-driven operations across every aspect of the business, we can also hold people accountable to helping the business achieve its goals along the way. In addition, I'm going to talk about one of the other most important things. I could talk about operations for many, many hours. And in fact, I already have been talking about it for a good amount. Communication and meetings. Okay. The goal of all the meetings of your business is to help the business run day to day, to help the business grow. If you're having a meeting and you can't directly tie it into the business goals, then it's usually going to be irrelevant. So what type of meetings might be helpful? I like to have something called an executive meeting weekly, where I review with the other leaders on the team the goals. We talk about what needs to be done, what can be improved in order to help the business grow. That's a great meeting to have. 30 minutes, an hour. If you have a business partner, that's a good one. Another meeting, you might have one-on-ones with your clinicians. You might have a clinical director who does one-on-ones with your clinicians. And the one-on-ones might be focused on what do they need to feel supported? What do they want? What sort of growth opportunities are there for them? Are they supported? Are they figured out with their admin? I'm not recommending this as you have to do this, but I've seen some people find success with their clinicians in terms of this, in terms of a weekly touch point, whether it's 30 minutes with the founder or something. That can make sense, especially at a smaller scale. But this is also something that can be built into the business overall. Because if your goal is to retain great people, you need to let them know that you care. You need to actually go out of your way to help them. That's something you can do. That's something other people on the team can do as well, but that's something we can systematize, okay? And then as well, having a communication cadence, whether it's weekly emails to update people on what's going on, if it's just email correspondence with the different people on your team, having a consistent flow for communication for the key people on your team to every clinician on the team, making sure that any potential clients are getting followed up with on time, that there's tracking for all the inquiries. This is all going to flow into your operations, into your systems. And the important thing here is that we don't over complexify it. We have systems holding our teams accountable to the most important core things of the business. Again, we could look at what those core things are. I could almost change this to finance, hiring, advertising, and marketing are going to be the most important things within the business. So if we can hold people accountable, if we can have meetings designed around helping the business to achieve its goal, that's going to be the best. Okay. I could throw in here software and systems to buy back your time, right? I'm going to say, let's just say buy back your time. One of the most useful paradigms I've heard as an entrepreneur, especially trying to grow to a new income threshold, is that you need to do the highest leverage action you can at every point. Okay, so that means in order to build your business to $1 million a year and profit 300,000, for example, you need to be focused on, marketing to generate hundreds of inquiries a month, or, hiring 4 new clinicians in a quarter, and getting bogged down with, very minor tasks. Maybe it's fixing a water pipe in the office. Might take you just 3 hours, but that 3 hours could be better allocated somewhere else. So the important part as you're growing operationally is that you want to hire people to do your low leverage tasks for $10 an hour, $15 an hour, in anticipation that you can fill that time with higher leverage activities, right? If you do a session for $300 an hour, you can pay for a lot of $15 an hour tasks. I would always recommend you do something for the first time first, and then you create a documentation, a system around it. I created another video, how to fire yourself from your group practice, that talks more about that. Hand that off. If we're consistently doing this across time, you can imagine we have data that's consistent week after week on how we're doing based on goals that we have for the month, for the quarter, right? If we're holding our team accountable or holding ourselves accountable with meetings to talk about it, come up with ideas to make things better, and we're blocking out the time in our calendar, get those things done, right? And we're handing off the things that we can pay people $10 an hour, $15 an hour, $30 an hour to do. That's how our business is going to grow to a place of high profitability. Okay. It's essentially by being a better business owner, right? Being a better leader of other people. This is the high leverage activity. And the only way you're going to grow your income more is by leverage, right? Is by becoming more of an owner, operator, a leader than it is by doing more sessions, right? I think you can hit 300,000 a year doing $350 an hour sessions 30 times a week. I prefer this way. I prefer turning into a leader who's able to more effectively lead the people, have them make an impact far beyond what you can make. Okay. Operations is going to be your ticket. Right? So Again, this is going to be the core of it is looking at your numbers, it's having good meetings, is hiring out the stuff in your business. But this will be the biggest sort of difficulty or problem as long as you can figure out advertising, right? And hiring is going to be the operational side of things, but it can be fixed. It can be hired into. There's a lot of people who know how to help you run the business better than you can. All right, so that's operations. All in all, advertising, hiring, your model or your finances, and your operations. These are the constituent parts that create $300,000 per year in group practice. Whether or not you actually believe it, people have done this time and time again. They've hit $400,000 a year. They've built a profitable business that they can actually sell. It's not easy to do, but it can be done, and it has been done, right? It's about learning the skills, and it's about working on what's not working in your business, solving one piece at a time and chunking this out over the course of a year or multiple years, you can get this done. If we've got great advertising installed, and that's something that we do for clinicians, sometimes we can get there in 6 months instead of 6 years, but still we need to do all the rest of the things. We need to do effective hiring. We need to build out proper systems. If you want to learn more, there should be a link in the bio for how we actually help group practice owners. Check that out if you want to, or if anything, I hope you just enjoyed this video. There's going to be a lot more to come from here.